us. Everybody do it. Let's go. We're gonna turn the world upside down. We're gonna turn these people right side up. We're gonna shout until we're 6 feet over. We're gonna demonstrate something unusual. Come on. Something.
Partnerships are vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Trump shall become a trumpet, says the Lord.
Be a praying president, not a religious one, but I will fool the people, says the Lord. God says, I will put at your helm for 2 terms a president that will pray, but he will not be a praying president when he starts. I will put him in office, and then I will baptize him with the Holy Spirit and my power, says the Lord.
The Spirit of the Lord says there shall be one assassination attempt that shall endeavor to destroy the plans that I have for this nation. Look to your vice president.
But California, I'm looking at you. Gold, stone, California. God says, once you recognize the man that I have raised up, pray, for the enemy will do everything in his power to put a witch in the White House. Hear me. I have found a man after my own heart, and he is amongst you. He is one of the brothers but singled out for presidency of the United States of America. Strange July, hypnotic November, and oh Christmas, where winter shall say, and me, I will make them happy. My will shall be done. And in the fall, will show you whom I have chosen to pray for and guide this nation. You shall rejoice, for it is my man. It is my chosen David, says the Lord, the Lord, the Lord.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Code Breakers Live. I have a very special guest today, and I'm going to bring her on in a minute. I just want to say hi to everybody, see how everybody's doing. Pray for Trey Smith. Okay. I talked to Trey yesterday, I think. Seemed all right. Why are you saying that? Okay, I can see Australia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Alabama, Bel Air, Maryland. Oh, it's so Indiana, Missouri, Tennessee. Oh my goodness, it's so great to have you guys. I can see some of you in the HOD chat asking about Trump's Middle East trip. That is what we're going to be speaking about today, as well as the lion. I have had quite an experience over the past couple of weeks. This has been going on since last year, but definitely over the last couple of weeks. I see Canada in the house and the Netherlands and Florida. more Tennessee, Minnesota. Oh, it's so great to see you guys. New York. Oh, I'm so glad to see everybody that's here today. So Dina McClure is about to join us. Now, Dina, I've known Dina my whole life since I was a little kid. And Dina used to minister with my dad and travel with my parents in South Africa in their very, very early years. And so I've known her a very long time. Her kids are the same age as me, so I'm friends with her kids. Utah, I see you there, Utah, and Colorado and Italy. Oh, Italy, welcome. Wisconsin, New Jersey, North Georgia, more Florida, Utah. I'm looking at YouTube, Rumble, X. I see you guys there in X. San Jose, California, Texas. Hi, Kay. Boston, South Africa. I'm going to be speaking about lions today. So I'm glad I've got some South Africans in the house because a lot of you are going to understand what I'm talking about that maybe others wouldn't. Dina does. Dina lived in South Africa. And so she's going to be able to talk to us a little bit about that. But, I've had this, I see how many shaloms are there. And Dina actually has something really cool to share about that as well. We were talking earlier today, getting ready to see what we were going to discuss, kind of cover everything. And we are lockstep, let me tell you. Germany, wonderful. Branson, Missouri, Michigan, Louisiana, more California, Bolivia. Oh, I love it. I am so happy to see all of you here today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Code Breakers Live. Okay, so we have a lot to cover. I'm going to go ahead. You can bring Dina on. If Dina's ready, you can bring her on, Lou. Let's bring in Dina McClure. She's coming to us from Texas. There she is.
Eddie.
Hi, Dini.
Hey, Donna.
So, Dina, say hello to everybody, Dina. They're all so excited to see you today.
Good to be here. This is going to be fun.
It is. And just so everybody knows, I know a lot of you who used to watch The Den and my dad, you'll recognize Dina. My dad had Dina on ministering and doing conversations with him. And again, she traveled, her and her husband, Danny, and our families traveled together. And I don't even remember it. I was so young. Dina. But welcome. Thank you for joining.
2 and 3 years old when we lived in South Africa, but then got the privilege of traveling with Kim over here as well to Detroit quite a bit. And
he prophesied 9/11 from Dearborn, Michigan. And if you look at the state of Dearborn, Michigan right now, you can see why God sent him there to prophesy 9/11 from, as we see Islam has basically taken over that whole town. Yeah, there's people saying, hi, Dina. They know you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's good to be. I asked Donna, I said, are some of the old Den people going to be here? And she said, yes. So that made me happy.
Oh, it makes me happy, too, because it's like a little reunion. We haven't seen each other in a while.
It's family. It really is.
Really, it is. I mean, this is the closest thing you can get to family between our families as possible. And so, Dina, tell us, I'm trying to think where we should start here. Tell us a little bit about your history with my parents. Like, you went to South Africa, and when and why?
We were talking about this earlier, just South Africa, Africa has always been in my heart. And as a little girl, I used to have dreams at least once or twice a week about Africa. And Danny, my husband, was a musician, still is, but when Kim came over, he asked Danny to come up and back him, and they just connected. And so he said, long story short, he said, do you want to join me in South Africa, and be my bassist? And so I'm immediately, but of course, but Danny it took a little bit of convincing, but after it was almost a year, we sold everything, burnt all bridges, and gathered up 2 kids, 2 toddlers, 4 suitcases, and $500 in our pocket. And we went to South Africa to be missionaries. And we traveled with Kim and Jane for we committed to 1 year. And then after that 1 year, we came back. We knew God had put South Africa on our hearts, so we tied up loose ends. Took us another 18 months, and then we went back. All in all, we were there about 8 years. And so some of the best years of, that's where I cut my teeth on ministry. You know, was thrown in the deep end as a young woman. And actually, I think Fiona and I were one of the only two traveling women in that nation back in that time.
That's very interesting, too, Gina, because I'm really to see how God is using women right now in sort of an unconventional way.
Yes.
One of those is, you know, like if you just look at our ministry, God took my dad, and here my mom and I have continued on the ministry. It's actually a miracle that we've been able to carry this on we didn't think we'd be able to do this without my dad. But you know how the prophetic works. I mean, he prophesied all the stuff that he prophesied, and we're watching it come to pass, and God needed someone to carry those words into this season. And it has really helped a lot of people, especially through the Trump stuff and especially the 2 terms and all of that. And, you know, I have realized that across the board, you see God using a lot of women right now. And I kind of compare it.
We don't remember how it used to be because women are so accepted now. But there was a time where you took hits, you know, to break ground, you know, break up fallow ground for women, and knowing and being ever so aware of how you went in was how it was going to either leave the door open or closed to women that would come after you, because it was just, especially over in South Africa. I mean, I love going to the African tribes, you know, and women just weren't, it just wasn't accepted. But for some reason or another, I know what it was the Lord, but God opened doors for me to go. And so you think about now where women are, and it makes my heart happy because they don't have to fight some of the battles. They have different battles to fight, but not some of the ones we had to fight.
Definitely. And you know what? Also, I think with the way feminism has gone, in a way that it's almost like like they want women to be like men, or you've got to do it better than men. And being a woman has been forgotten. And it's almost like, oh, the only way you can be successful is to be a man. So now it's gone all the way over to the trans thing, where the woman of the year is a trans woman.
One of the best compliments.
God needs some good godly women.
One of the best compliments I ever got in South Africa was after going to a black church. One of the pastors came up to Danny afterwards and goes, "Pastor Danny, your wife, she preaches like a man." they couldn't figure it out, you know. We can't deny there's the anointing, you know, but she preaches.
It definitely takes a special kind of woman. Not any woman can do.
You can still do that and maintain your femininity. You know, it's all the above. But anyway, this is typical of you and I. We start off and look, we're already on subjects. We didn't even plan on talking about it.
Plan. It just came to me, and I wanted to make sure also people have a good introduction to you and understand that there's a history here for those who are newcomers.
Yes.
Anybody who's been watching.
Kim and I got reconnected after many years. You know, you ebb and flow, and you guys moved over, and we all were busy with our own ministries. And one night or one day, I just decided I'm going to write Kim a thank you letter. You know, talking about women, he opened doors for me to be able to go into ministry. You know, and then I came back to the States and you know, had to fight some of the same battles over again. But anyway, I remember writing him a letter and thanking him and telling him how much him and Jane had meant to me. And it wasn't even too long after that, you know, he contacted me, but, you know, and said how much it meant to him to know that somebody recognized him. You know, I told Kim, I said, I used to, you know, people will come up to ministers and say, mentor me, mentor me. I learned how to be mentored from a distance because traveling with Kim and being close by, I just studied and observed and learned so much through that. But this true story, I remember it wasn't too long after I sent that letter, I'm on AOL, that dates it. It was back in the 90s. And I get this thing that pops up and it says, pray for me. I'm in the same hotel with Prince, and I'm getting ready to go down and prophesy to him. And I thought, who is this? I remember typing back, who are you? You know, he goes, Dina, it's Kim. He said they moved everybody out of the floor because they told him Prince wanted that floor to himself. And he said, no, I'm not going. And so he said he got before God and prayed, and God showed him mysteries. He showed him secrets about Prince, you know. And so I said, I'm on it. And so there in my bed, late at night, I start praying and interceding for Kim. who went and spoke to Prince, and he said it was, I mean, I won't divulge what happened, but he said it was so powerful.
You know, I actually told that story not long ago, but I didn't know your involvement there. So that's not added to the richness of the story.
It was just like, and after that, it was like the reconnection was final, and we started, you know, doing things together again and everything. You know, don't ever think that relationships are just for a moment. You know, they have significance, kingdom significance. And for Kim, he had significance in my life right up to the very end when I went and saw him, you know, right before he went home. But I will forever be grateful for the deposit he made in my life.
Yes, and you know what? Something else everybody should know is that, Dina, you came with us to Israel in 2018 when with my mother and I and the whole team and my husband and my stepson, everybody was there, and you baptized my husband in the Jordan River. I actually wish I had remembered to get the picture. I might be able to even find it. But you baptized my husband in the Jordan River, and we were together on that trip, and that's actually what just reconnected us.
Yes.
Because I got a memory pop up on my iPhone with my iPhoto of you and my mom, and you said something similar happened to you, and that's how we got to talking again
Right.
this past week. And I just knew the timing was God's timing for you to come and talk to us today, especially about the topic we want to discuss,
Yeah.
which is the Middle East trip that Trump just took, and lions. We're going to get to the lions too. But before we do that, we're gonna sort of cover some of this that's happened, because there's a lot of people. I mean, even our own Doobie from Israel was on Israel Update on Friday, and you know, he was very concerned, and a lot of people are unsure. Some people are calling Trump the Antichrist, which he is not. And so before we start, I want to play a clip of, I thought Jesse Waters covered this so well.
Yeah, I did.
There's this clip. Lou, am I playing it myself, or are you going to put it on for me? Oh, he's going to do it. Yay. Thank you, Lou. Okay, go ahead and play that, and me and Dina will react afterwards. Oh, I have to push play. Okay, I can do that.
Triangle. Two Middle Eastern leaders want the president all to themselves. 47 left Saudi Arabia this morning. The prince was so sad to see him go, he rode along in the beast and waved goodbye at the gate. But it's not goodbye, it's see you later. The president has more deals to make. Next stop, Qatar. Saudi Arabia had gone all out. Qatar said, we can top that. The Saudis had 5 jets escort Trump. Qatar sent 8. Trump watched the F-15s through the window, and they were watching back. We caught one pilot snapping a picture of POTUS, but the press corps full of panicins.
You're going to be surrounded by 8 fighters, you know, in about 7 minutes. Then you say, do we need them? And when they say yes, that doesn't make me feel good, right?
What's the threat? Did they tell you what the threat is?
No, let's assume there's no threat. We have to assume that.
Instead of lavender, the Qataris went with a Republican red carpet with gold trim, Trump's favorite. The sheikh met the Trump on the tarmac, and they rolled into town with a Cybertruck cavalry. Electric cars in an oil kingdom. Go figure. In the harbor, boats were using American flags for sails. The Saudis had white Arabian horses. Qatar had horses, camels, and sword dancers.
Oh my God.
The Saudis sent us a rare Arabian leopard. She's sleeping at the Smithsonian Zoo in D.C. But Trump's really more of a camel guy. The only thing he likes more than camels is marble.
You look at this, it's so beautiful. As a construction person, I'm seeing perfect marble. This is what they call perfecto. And just a great job you've done, and what a beautiful place. And we appreciate those camels. I haven't seen camels like that in a long time.
The Qatari leader was thrilled to have an American president in town.
We're extremely honored to have you here. We're very excited, very happy. It's a historic visit. And I don't know if you know that you are the first American president to officially to visit Qatar. Right. So we're very honored. We're very honored.
But Trump just couldn't stop thinking about the Saudi prince.
We always had a very special relationship. And we came from Saudi Arabia, where we have another great man over there that's a friend of yours. And you two guys get along so well and like each other. You sort of remind me a little bit of each other, if you want to know the truth. They're both tall, handsome guys that happen to be very smart. But he's also a very special guy.
The Qatari said, forget about the prince. Why don't we just go back to my place?
Nice house. Nice house.
That might be the only house Trump likes more than Mar-a-Lago. Must be the marble. Then the Qatari threatened Trump to dinner and a show. After the sword dance, some music. But this wasn't an intimate dinner.
I have a very good friend on my left. He said, do you mind if I invite just a few guests? And do you mind shaking hands with them just before dinner? I said, sure. I didn't know you were going to have 400 people. No, it's an honor. So I know so many of you, so many great people.
Then the Qataris started speaking Trump's language.
Together, the U.S. and Qatar are feeding and fueling the world. This energy partnership alone is also valued over $1.5 trillion. So we have been drilling for the last 4 years. And glad to have you back on board.
Qatar's pumping oil and sending us the money. $1.2 trillion. Not a bad thing for a day in Doha.
My gosh.
Qatar put in the biggest order for Boeings ever. 210. That's $100 billion. But this trip isn't all about money. Trump did something no president has done in 25 years. He met with Syria's president, who used to be a bad guy, but now he's our bad guy. Trump won't inherit Biden's foreign policy. Fresh face, fresh start.
How did you find the Syrian president?
Great. Great. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy. You know, strong pass. Very strong pass fighter.
Trump shocked the world by lifting sanctions on Syria. He says he's giving them a chance at greatness. We're trying to peel Syria away from Russia and have them play nice with Israel, and peel Syria away from Iran. The less friends Iran has in the neighborhood, the better chance they sign the nuke deal.
I hope you can help me with the Iran situation, because it's a perilous situation, and we want to do the right thing. We want to do something that's going to save maybe millions of lives. We're really helping the region, we're helping the world, we're helping your country, and we'll try and get it done. If we can, we're going to try and get it done. They have to move quickly, and I just hope Iran realizes what a good friend they have right here.
If we can sign a nuke deal with Iran, we can lower sanctions and bring their oil back online. And when we get the Saudis to pump more oil, it'll drive the price down, starve Russia's war machine, and force Putin to the negotiating table and end the war in Ukraine. We're also selling these Arabs chips, weapons, and if Netanyahu settles the war in Gaza, the Gulf states will re-up the Abraham Accords, and we can all do business with Israel. Everyone will be doing business together, Jews, Muslims, and the United States. Moscow will be pushed out of the region, China will be pushed out, and you'll have a nice U.S.-sponsored trade alliance with an American security blanket, soft and cozy. Then we can pivot out of that desert back to the Western Hemisphere and to the Far East. It's where the action is. His main pitch this week is make money, not war. Trade goods, not missiles. It's a Hail Mary, and it might work. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page.
All right, you can take that one down. So I just wanted to watch that little, I know it was a little longer than normal, but I thought he summed it up so well. Because it can get a little confusing. Like, what is going on? What is he doing with the Syrian guy? And I know that the Israelis are not very happy about that. But what I'm seeing, Dina, is that he's trying to do things differently. And I'll say this. When I went to the White House Faith Office briefing, just a few weeks ago, I was in Washington, D.C., and the man who they had come and speak to us who on counterterrorism, he's in that department. One thing he said is, we can't keep trying to stop all the killing with more killing.
Right.
And as Christians, we're responsible to change hearts and minds. And I remembered my dad prophesying about how how Jesus would appear to Muslims where no one else could reach them. And we're hearing report after report after report of Muslims in the Middle East who have never read a Bible, who don't know anything about Jesus, having these incredible encounters, and it's changing them. And so when I look at this, I don't see this as a betrayal to Israel at all. I feel like if you can see the bigger picture, you can see Trump is trying something different instead of, because he really doesn't want any more wars and people dying. He's actually now in the position he's in. He's seeing, like for instance, he talked about Ukraine. He saw the footage of them flying over. I don't know if it was drones or satellite or whatever images he was shown of the death, and he was saying there's 5,000 at least a week dying, and we have to stop all the killing. And the same in Israel and Gaza, and so he is tying these countries financially and economically in a way that will incentivize them to join the Abraham Accords, trade with Israel, and sort of tame that hostility. And that's the way I'm seeing it. I'm feeling very hopeful. And so what do you think, Dina?
Well, first of all, I think that Trump has put the fun back in politics. I mean, this man is so full of fun, and he's a happy warrior. And people, that attracts people. People aren't attracted to all the negativity. They're attracted to, he's on a mission from God, literally, but he's got a joyful heart while he's doing it. He's learned how to do that, and we could take a lesson from that. Mm-hmm. But I think that he's playing the long game. He had this in his heart the first round, but it's like after everything that happened these past 4 years and all of that, the man is like, his face is set like flint. He is, I don't want to say obsessed, but he is, pressing towards getting this peace going. It's not world peace, but it is going to be peace in the Middle East. I think that's going to shift everything. And I'm with you, Donae. I think we have to trust him. This man is not going to abandon Israel. That's not in his DNA. So I'm not even worried about that. Even though we didn't hear that much about Israel, and Israel wasn't part of these talks, I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes, but I almost think it was a strategic move to get some other things in place first, and then be able to have leverage to do some other things. So, I'm quite happy, to just like with the tariffs, the jury's still out, but we're starting to see it work, and when everybody was saying this isn't going to work, Trump always has a plan. The man doesn't know how to lose, and he doesn't give up. He doesn't quit. So but there was a quickening. I mean, everybody that's watching right now, we can pretty much all agree that what happened over there was a quickening spirit on it, that things that would take years happened in one short trip, one visit. And I think that speaks to us also, of timing and the urgency of God, to move things around so that they can block Iran. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And but I was saying to Danae, I think it's interesting how they're doing it. We know that peace has been prophesied, that peace is coming. And we can only speculate, but I couldn't help but think, is this some of the peace that is getting ready, like that's in Ezekiel 38? And we don't know how long that peace is going, where it starts and where it ends. We know where it ends is that where the 7 years begin to pick up all the weapons and all the aftermath of God backhanding the enemy that tries to come down on Israel. But it says, and I could read you the scriptures, it says in Ezekiel 38 that they're dwelling at peace. They're dwelling with their walls down. And we've not seen that. I've not seen that in my lifetime with Israel. I've not seen that in my lifetime. But so I can't help but think, is this the beginning stages of setting up that peace? And then we don't know how long that peace is going to last, but it is definitely prophesied that there is going to be a peace in the Middle East, and then everything's going to shift. And could this be, could this be the beginning stages of some of that peace?
Well, we've definitely been watching that over the past, especially the past decade since we lost my dad. A lot happened and a lot changed very quickly. And so, I'm feeling hopeful about this. I understand people's apprehension. But I also feel like all through this first year of Trump's second term, we've had a lot of people who are wanting to see things happen quickly,
right?
Or they're not seeing things happen the way they thought it would play out. And I really would encourage everybody to just have a little bit of patience and, like you said, give it a chance, because he's lifted sanctions on Syria. And that is going to pull Syria away from Russia. And I think that's very interesting. But also, if they misbehave, he can slap those sanctions right back on them. We saw the Syrian people celebrating, because we have to remember that the citizens of these countries are not. It's not like it is in America. Where you're heard and you can protest and you can vote. It's even in South Africa, you might have gone and voted, but that didn't mean anything. And so, and we really had a battle here in America over the Biden presidency and Trump and the 2020 election, where Americans really stood up and fought against the creeping in of that same kind of corruption. But God has put his foot down and is exposing it, as my dad prophesied would happen. And so at this time here, we have a sort of unprecedented tactic that Trump has used, and going in there. And not only did he go, but he took American businessmen and Arabian businessmen, Middle Eastern.
Who's who? And when he says he shook 400 hands, I remember watching it on TV going, oh my gosh, this man is shaking every single hand. But he was in it, to make a difference. And that's what we have to trust. He is not one to drag things out. His history tells that. He's results oriented.
Yes.
He likes to see the beginning and the end, and he knows he's working against a time clock on Iran and the nuke thing. And he has said, if you listen to what he's really saying, you realize real quickly he's not fooling around. He's giving it. He says you have to make some decisions quickly, because it's on his shoulders, and he knows it. And so he's gonna go for the results. And I think there's that scripture, can a nation be birthed in one day, and what would take years takes months, what would take months takes days, what would take days takes hours. And we saw that this last week. And so with some of the things that Trump is going after in his legacy and in his term, he's not going to fool around. He wants to get those things done, because he has less than 4 years now. And every little bit of time, is making a difference. So I believe we're going to see things quicker than what in the years past other administrations would have done. I mean, we've already seen that. Yeah. So we just hold, like in Braveheart, hold, and at the right moment, we're going to see. And in fact, I was telling Janae, I watched Maria Bartiromo this morning with Kash Patel and Bongino. Maybe some of you saw it. Oh my gosh, they go, we can't say it now, just wait. Some things are coming out this next week. We've seen more things revealed and brought into the light that were covered, and it's shifting the whole playing field. So he said in this next week, there's going to be a release of some more documents and things. So people, this is moving a lot faster than what anything we've seen, in my time.
We're seeing the enemy manifest too. I mean, if you just saw Comey's tweet, that really just the enemy just exposing himself through the people that have that have been used by him, by the enemy, and so that was a big topic of conversation. That and sort of putting the foot down and saying we're not taking this anymore. You're not getting away with this anymore. And America spoke when they voted for Donald Trump. And so my thing today is just to tell everybody, just hold your horses and wait a minute, have a little bit of patience, because like you just said, we've seen him do more in his first, now it's over 100 days, than we've ever seen. And, someone pointed out about Ronald Reagan and him making the deal with the Saudis, and that he did, that combated the Soviet Union and pulled them away. And at the time, people, maybe there were people, I don't remember it. I'm only able to review. I don't remember it at the time. But people could have said, oh, well, this, the way people are saying about Trump bringing peace, oh, well, that could have also been looked at as, it was Steve Chocolante. If I'm saying his name right, Dina's laughing because I could never say his name right. And he put up a video today that I would recommend everybody watch. I'll get Lou the link, and I will put it in the description so you guys can Jacqueline's approached.
It's been announced that Joe Biden has an aggressive form of prostate cancer.
Oh yes, I did see that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jackie's monitoring the chat over there. Yes, there was something found in his prostate. And there's a lot to come out about who was actually running this country during those 4 years, because it was not Biden.
Right.
And so that is being exposed too, and it's all happening in God's timing. And we need to have faith. We know, and look, here at the House of Destiny, we know what my dad prophesied about Trump, and it was a lot. And he was prophesying it long before even Trump knew he was going to be running for president. And so knowing that here, we kind of are at an advantage because of the prophetic in this place, that we know, hang on a minute, let's see how this plays out. Because like the counterterrorism guy informed us at the Faith Office meeting, we can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. We can't just go over there and keep bombing and keep trying to bring our culture and our democracy. We have to change hearts and minds. And that is what spreading the gospel is about. And that is what is our responsibility as Christians. Now, we may not be able to go over there, but God used that time after 9/11 and going into Iraq, even though we know all the nonsense about it, God still had Christians, boots on the ground, literally, in those nations. And so my dad, in his prophecy, saw there being a purpose to that it wasn't for nothing, because many people feel like, well, we sent our sons and daughters over to the Middle East and we lost them. They died. And was it for nothing? And I wish I had the prophecy to play because I'm only remembering it now. But my dad prophesied about that, and he said it was not for nothing. God sent his soldiers to put their feet on the ground. And even though the results haven't been, we weren't able to change them by force, we have Trump now going in using, as a businessman, making deals which are beneficial to those nations, and then in the end will be beneficial to Israel.
Now,
and it's keeping Iran in check as well.
You're at a good place where I want to share. When we talked earlier this week, I was musing and meditating on, the Middle East and the peace and, all these things. And just peace came to me, and then shalom. And over the years, I've found places in the scripture where, like for instance, I think it was the little Syrophoenician woman who had I think that was the one who had the son that died in the field, and the prophet had promised her. And when he sent his servant, He said, "Is it well?" And she said, "It is well." And then he came back and asked her several times, "Is it well?" And she said, "It is well." That word is shalom. And I remember after seeing that, I started looking at scriptures, where shalom was, but maybe it was in different, different words than peace. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to check this out. And so I went and looked up, as probably I have 100 times over my years as a Christian, shalom. And God gave me he made me smile, because here it is. It means completeness, soundness, welfare, peace. Now, when you start breaking it down in the scriptures, it's found safety. And is Trump not bringing safety back to us and through the border and to these other countries from Iran? Soundness in body, and then welfare, watch this, health and prosperity, and peace and friendship. And this is what all shalom means, and relationships, but it means prosperity. And I got to thinking, oh my gosh, this is his different tactic than what we've done in the past. He's going in there and he's creating trade deals to bring prosperity. It's the old saying, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, or your prosperity or peace. Well, you can bring peace and have prosperity, and bring prosperity and have peace. But he is going from the aspect of setting up trade deals to bring prosperity not only to those countries but to ours, and through that there is a bond that's going to happen where it will bring peace in the Middle East. I think this is brilliant. We haven't really seen it's maybe in trickles in places in the past, but for me it was like, oh my gosh, this is what Trump's doing. He's bringing shalom upon the Middle East and upon us, and it's bringing safety, not only prosperity, safety, but peace, from war. And here, let me just pull it up one more time. So yeah, I just think there's a bigger picture of what God's doing than even what we realize, that he can bring this peace, Middle East peace, through more avenues than just warfare.
Yes. And something I'd like to bring up also is Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Because, my mother said it to me the other day, and then when we were talking, you not even knowing that, said the same thing to me, and so did my husband, John, is that Saudi Arabia, in Bible prophecy, Saudi Arabia is kind of not involved there. So can you kind of help me out with that?
Sure. Okay, so in 38, I'm just going to hit about 2 or 3 scriptures. I'm not going to read all of them, but in 38:8, you can go and read it. Well, first of all, in 38:5-6, it tells you who's coming against Israel after this peace that has been in the Middle East and on Israel. In 5-6, it tells you who's coming. Then in verse 38, it tells you who they are coming for. And it says, after many days you will be visited. In the latter years you will come into the land of those brought back from the sword and gathered from many people, that's Israel today, on the mountains of Israel, which had long been desolate. They were brought out of the nations, and now all of them dwell safely. So, and then in 38, 10 and 11, it says, thus says the Lord God, on that day it shall come to pass that thoughts will arise in your mind, and you will make an evil plan. You will say, I will go up against a land of unwalled villages. I will go to a peaceful people who dwell safely. Now, see, this has not been happening. We haven't seen this yet. So this is something that's still coming. Of all them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. And then finally in verse 12, it says, what are they coming for? To take a plunder and to take a livestock and to stretch out your hand against the waste places that are again inhabited, and against a people gathered from the nations. It keeps saying that. And when I've been over in Israel a few times, you find out about all the people that are being brought in. There's a certain word from it, from the different nations and brought back to Israel, who have acquired livestock and goods, who dwell in the midst of the land. Now in 38 verse 13, it says, but there will be, and it mentions 3 groups of people. One of them is Saudi Arabia. And it says they will ask the question to the ones coming down, why are you coming? Why are you doing this? Which speaks that they aren't going to be involved, as well as some of the other ones it mentions. So, you can do your little Bible study and dig around and find out what that is. But yeah, Saudi Arabia is mentioned in 38:13. That's what most of the Bible scholars believe.
Right. And so when the destruction comes, because now there's peace and prosperity, which is, I think, what we're entering into. And then, and we don't know how long that'll be. We don't know that timeline yet. But we do know that that's what it says about Saudi Arabia. And what I find interesting is the relationship between the Crown Prince Solomon and I call him Solomon because Trump does, because it's spelt Solomon, and some people say it that way, but Trump calls him Solomon. And you see how much he loves Trump.
They do.
He was waiting at the bottom of the plane. He was so excited. He was driving him around. He was so excited and just absolutely loves Trump. And there's a rumor, I don't know if it's true, but there is a rumor about the Las Vegas shooting, and that was actually an attempt to assassinate the Crown Prince.
Wow.
And our, I believe, there were people in the FBI, there was ISIS, and there were betrayers from Saudi Arabia who were part of the royal family who were involved in this attempted assassination. And the distraction was the shooting in Las Vegas at the concert. And people who were there speak about shots being fired from helicopters, that there were helicopters being flown and all sorts of things. And how many weapons also were in the room that this one man was supposed to have been able to smuggle in there, and why would he?
About it. We still don't know that much about it.
Right. And so the rumor is that Trump, because the Crown Prince had come to meet with Trump, that Trump warned him because he had intelligence, and that the Crown Prince was able to get out of there. Now, if that's true, then that would make sense to me why he loves him so much, because it was notable. Like the other countries were welcoming, and they also liked Trump and eager for the opportunities, but the Crown Prince was literally giddy. And they gave him a leopard, or what is it? Was it a cougar or a leopard?
It was a leopard.
They gave him. I mean, yeah, and it's in the as we saw in that clip we watched of Waters. It's in the Smithsonian Zoo now, and I mean, just the great celebration that they, and then the countries trying to outdo one another, and so it was, again, I feel quite encouraging, and I do feel that there is a special relationship there with the Crown Prince.
Relationships with him started way before he was president.
Yes,
which really makes a difference, I think.
I think so as well. And so, but of course we know, we don't just, it just doesn't just mean, we just trust him and everything's good. Because my dad had a lot of warnings about Saudi Arabia hiding something. I'm not sure if that has to do with Khashoggi. I'm not sure about that, but I found that quite interesting because I noticed the way that he was with President Trump in comparison to when Biden went there. And it was sort of a very just
embarrassing.
Yeah, and there was they did a little fist bump, and I think that was because it was COVID time. But regardless, we haven't seen anybody celebrate a president that way in the Middle East, and I think it's also because something about the Crown Prince over there is he is trying to I don't know what the word is, modernize, is that the word maybe I'm looking for? The law, sort of relax the laws over there. And again, Trey Smith has come on and talked to me about this a bit, and he's not so sure how that's actually playing out in day-to-day life there.
Women have taken they can remove, I forget the name of it.
The hijab, yes.
Yeah.
Covering.
And so it's made a huge difference.
Drive.
Yeah, for women. Somebody asked, I noticed, what scripture, what book I was reading from. It is Ezekiel.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in Ezekiel. So, and then go ahead and read on through 39 because that's fascinating.
38 and 39, everybody. We're reading Ezekiel 38 and 39 and having a look. And so we do know that. And what's interesting to me is there's a prophecy. Lou, I want to play the Saudi Arabia prophecy again. I used this on the Reawaken America tour because he spoke about a wall that wouldn't be finished. And this prophecy is just very, very interesting to me. Lou, do we have it? Are you going to play
falling.
I see a king falling.
I see a king falling. I see a king falling. Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Solomon. Lord, you are not pleased. The wall, there's a wall being built that will not be completed for a takeover. Already a plan. Iran, you have wicked plans. Your wickedness cannot be covered. I've seen you, says the Lord. I've already spoken about you. Father, I just pray you'd stop just for a minute.
Okay, Deanie, I know I didn't give this to you in advance, but what is your reaction to that? What do you feel about that? Because you can see my dad's visibly upset.
Yeah. Well, clearly, I mean,
His name's Solomon, and Solomon was not the crown prince then.
right. Right. So that's why I've never heard that. That's why, and you telling how he likes to say his name that way, I'm like, oh, but yeah, the Iran warnings are clear. But what's the wall? What's the wall?
Well, during the time that I spent on the Reawaken America tour, in my mind, I was thinking, well, they stopped Trump from building the wall. But now I'm not so sure that's what that means.
It almost seems like it's a wall over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they're building that city that's a wall, but I'm not sure if that's what it is either. It's a city it's like a smart city, and it goes for miles and miles and miles through the desert, and it looks like a long wall. And then, and people who live there are going to be able to travel within 15 minutes. You can get to anything.
They're building it up more than out.
Yes, they're building it up like a long wall through the desert, and the Saudi prince is the one that is the line. It's called the line. Now, I'm not sure if that's what it is either, but it came to my mind now, and I knew we had it in our list of available prophecies to play. And so now the other thing I have to play for you is the Lion Nations. So we're going to get into the lions next. But let's have a look. I wonder if I should tell the story first and then play this to make a decision. Why don't we play it? Let's play the first part, the first date.
Okay. At some point, I just want to make mention of the Chuck Missler.
Oh, go ahead. Do that
now.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Do that first.
All right. So a little disclaimer on this. For those of you who do not believe in the rapture, just disregard it. It's not a debate point with me, but I do believe in the rapture. And when Chuck Missler came on, it's funny. There's a long story behind that. But Jane fought so hard to get Chuck Missler on, and he came. And it was towards the end of his life, and I think he did 2 nights. He just pulled that chair up and just started talking. He was like he's a general. He was a general in the kingdom, and just Bible prophecy expert. I mean, him and Hilton Sutton. Now, I told Danae, I said, now I don't know a lot of the new ones that are out there. I go, so a lot of times when I need to just refresh some things, I go back to Hilton Baby and Chuck Missler. And the funny part is, you want me to tell it?
Yes, go ahead.
In the 80s, I came over to South Africa with a series of a conference I'd gone to with Hilton Sutton. He was a Bible prophecy expert. He taught Bible prophecy from a positive, like it's God's master performance, not from doom and gloom and be afraid of the beast and the ark and all that. And I never heard anything like it. In fact, it changed my life so much that I was going to college at the time, and I dropped out so that I could pursue the ministry. And so I brought them over. Well, when we would travel, Jane and I would sit at the back of the van, the combi, with blankets and pillows for our toddlers and us, and we'd sit back there, and we'd start playing these tapes. Kim was not a believer in that at the time. And he'd go, "Get that rubbish off, turn that off." We'd start laughing. We go, "No, we want to hear it." And there was this back and forth all the time about it. And then years later, Fiona goes to Kim. I think it was Fiona, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
Well, anyway, and Jane, and they somehow, some way, through God's intervention, Kim was totally transformed and believed in differently about Israel, about the rapture, you cannot help but respect people that that humble themselves and go, I was wrong. This is right, So anyway, he was all excited to have Chuck Missler too. And I remember they said, Dina, write in a question if you can. So I wrote in a question. I said, where do we come in the 7 years mentioned in Ezekiel 39? Where do we, the church, come in? And Chuck Missler, I wish we could have found it for you. Wasn't a long answer, but he did say, well, if the truth be told, you're not going to be around for the 7 years. He said, between now and before the 7 years begins of when Israel's attacked, he goes, the rapture can happen. There's nothing stopping. Everything's been fulfilled. He said, as far as the second coming, and that will happen, and you'll know almost the day and the hour when that's going to happen. And I'm not going to go into that right now, but you can know it. But for the rapture, it's a thief in the night. We don't know. And so he said, but between now and that 7 year, beginning of the 7 year, he said, we could go at any time, and nothing's holding us back, which was exciting to me. But it doesn't put fear in you. It makes you want to live your life for God like never before. Roll up your sleeves and do business for the kingdom. Make sure your relationship with Jesus is where it needs to be, and that, you're a friend of God and the Holy Spirit, and that you could meet him today and go, I'm ready. So, that to me, with this peace happening, I'm like little antennas going up, going, oh my, could this be the beginning of that peace? We don't know. Once again, we don't know how long that's going to last, or even if this is we can speculate and say this could be the beginnings of it. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. But we do know that God is moving. There's a quickening on things happening, and we just need to be ready. That's the bottom line. We need to be ready. Now,
Say again.
I said, what was the other thing you wanted to talk about?
The lions, but I wanted to play. So what I did was, I've got to back up. Everybody's got to understand where I'm coming from here. They're like, what are you talking about lions, John A? Okay. So last year, I had this vision, and it was of a lion walking towards me. And it wasn't like a scary thing. It wasn't like the devil, prowling around. It was like Jesus. And it was, it completely overwhelmed me. Even now, when I tried to talk to Dina about it earlier, I burst out crying. Because it had such an impact on me, this image of this most magnificent lion walking towards me. And then a few months later, I was at dinner. I was doing one of the Reawaken America events. I think it was one of the last ones we did. And Amanda Grace was there, and I saw it again coming towards her. And I told her, I said, there's a lion coming to you. Now, she has an animal sanctuary. That's part of her ministry, Ark of Grace. And she rescues animals. But animals like horses and deer and pigs and cats and dogs and sheep. She said all kinds of things. But, I told her that, and she said, well, I can't take care of a lion. I said, well, I'm not sure if it's a real lion or if there's something more to this. But I shared it with her at the time. And then recently, it's just been coming back on my spirit again, the lion. And so over the last week, I've been watching, more than a week now, I've been watching about lions. I just want to. I'm like looking for, where can I go and just see one?
What does this mean?
Right.
What does it mean?
It's Jesus. It's not like a scary thing. I was saying to you earlier, I wish I could just go find a lion, because I don't want to get eaten, but because I will. But is there a place that I can just go sit near one and pray? And it's such a strange thing that's happened to me. So I went into my dad's prophecy database, And I looked up lion because I remembered him prophesying about lions. So, Lou, pull up the lion nations. Lion of the tribe of Judah. That's right, Lady CC, in the comments.
But I want
Trump is the lion. The lion has been a symbol of Trump as well. Yes, it has. So I found a couple of things I'm going to play for you now. The first date, Lou, since you're controlling it, when it skips over to the next date, you can pause it. So just play the first part. There's 2 different dates here. And this was
I want you to know, watching me
2015.
today, I cannot help but prophesy. The lion has roared. The Lord has spoken. Who can but prophesy? Some would say it is the end of this nation. But I keep getting glimpses of light. Great light covering one state after the next. Even light in the White House. Calling it no longer the White House, but the lighthouse of the world. No longer shall you be called the White House, but the lighthouse for the world for a season. For I shall once again place somebody that is so cherished by many to bring light to Israel. But for this season it shall stand alone. And I will prove myself by the produce that shall come from the land of Israel. And for those who bless that land that I have kept for this time as a sign for the end times, I will bless you, says the Lord, and I will give you keys of the kingdom that will open you a whole world of material wealth, spiritual wealth. God says it is not for you to be struggling and fighting and praying for hours for God's prosperity and provision. That is not where I want you to put your faith. I want you to put your faith in the salvation of lost souls. I want you to put your faith into the deliverance of those that are in captivity, says the Spirit of God.
Okay, you can pause it, Lou, because we'll go to this next one next. So I look up lion, and I find that. And isn't that just exactly what we've just been discussing? God's saying, I'm going to bless you so that you're not having to struggle financially, so your focus can be on saving souls.
A woman said earlier, I was reading in the feed, she said, peace equals doing business for God, you know, and really, as we talked about earlier, shalom, bringing peace, bringing prosperity and your needs met, helps finance the harvest, helps finance, you know, getting out there and during this window that we have, you know, doing business for God to win souls and disciple people and bring people into the kingdom. I mean, it is right now. There's a lot of revival happening on college campuses and in different places. It's already begun. And, I think every age group is included. There's no one that's excluded from this end time move of God, and that peace and the prosperity are gonna help bring it.
Exactly, and this we know this is a precursor to the end times, but we also know. I mean, you heard him say it, and you've been speaking about the 7 years. Steve Cocolante also mentioned the 7 years. My dad has. Over the years, while prophesying, he saw that 7-year period, and he said, peace for a season. You notice he did it for a season, but God wants to equip us. So he speaks about this president who you can hear he's describing, Trump, who will be so loved by many and will bless Israel. And as a result,
I know, isn't it amazing?
Going to be able to produce.
Wow.
So there's the Abraham Accords and the trade. And so it just spoke to me so much, and all I had to do was search lion, and there it was. I wouldn't have found that. And
the 13th, what is it? I think I said Ezekiel 38:13. I think that's what I said. That they also mentioned the young lions in that verse as well. So
that's right. You did.
The young lions.
Also, the date of that prophecy we just watched was May 16th.
Right.
2015. Do you realize, Dina, that's almost to the day 10 years ago?
Oh, wow. Tell me the date again.
18th.
Because I started doing the Den with Kim in 2015. I remember it was in March, April is when I first began.
And this was May 16th. So yet 2 days ago was 10 years ago to the day. And here we are today. And I didn't know that. I searched Lion. I pulled that prophecy up. I didn't even notice it till now. That is almost 10 years to the day ago.
Kim was like, I was thinking of this because I love Secretariat. Kim was like Secretariat. He was like, he was running like a machine towards the end. He was prophesying like a flipping machine.
Right.
I've never seen anything like it. I've known him, 40 something years. And I've never seen him prophesy. It was like he couldn't, it was coming like a fire hose. It was amazing. But God was getting that out there because he knew, he knew.
And that really it's comforting to me because all these questions we're asking right now just got answered in that prophecy.
Right.
About the leader and especially what he said about Israel being able to produce and trade is what I was seeing.
Yes.
And then that peace that comes out, we know after the peace what happens, and we know probably a lot of these countries are not going to behave themselves, but we are getting a reprieve. We're getting this little bit of time where God is going to equip us, our nation, financially, so we're not starving and in the streets and so worried about how are we going to eat, how are we going to pay the bills, that we can't focus on spreading the gospel, because that time is coming and God needs us to reach as many people as possible. And the ones he's not going to reach, he's going to go in the Damascus Road conversions my dad spoke about. It's happening with atheists.
Yeah.
Right now I've seen that Ayana, what is her name? She's from Somalia, and she speaks a lot about warning people about Islam because she left Islam.
You know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
She's one of the top atheists and has just last year converted to Christianity. And if you hear her talk now, my goodness gracious, this is one of the most intelligent people in the world. As she was a Muslim, and she's warning people about Islam. We're seeing that through the border stuff in all of these European countries. We have an infiltration from Islamic nations where they're trying to take. I mean, right there where you are in Texas, they're building neighborhoods and
backyard in Garland.
I know it is being stopped, but I mean, taking over our empty churches. Now,
say it's being stopped. I hope it is because I haven't heard of.
Put a pause on it.
yeah, the governor is doing something.
I know
They're trying to stop that.
Investigate.
Now you've come up to the mic, Lou.
Yes, because I just had a thing with the Lion of Judah,
Yes.
Uh-huh.
David comes from the tribe of Judah. Your father called Trump my David.
He did call Trump his David.
Yes.
Just want to throw it up.
There's the lion again.
Yep.
So he's
My
from the
goodness
line
gracious.
of the tribe of Judah. He's from
Right,
the lineage
I do
of
know
David.
that. The lineage of David and David. Oh my goodness.
And he said, my
And
David.
Trump is
And,
my David.
and Kim said, my David.
That's right. I love that.
That is powerful, Lou. That is powerful. That is absolutely true.
That's why it fits in with that, with the White House.
Okay, so it's Revelation 5:5, and one of the elders saith unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seven seals thereof. So,
The root of David. Because David made, I just remember my dad speaking about this, and I remember obviously reading it myself. But when my dad spoke of these things, he had a way of presenting it that was just beautiful.
yes.
But that David built him an altar and said, you need a house, a place that is yours here. And that's where the temple, and then Solomon built the temple. And so, those are very significant things. Trump's hair like a lion's mane. You know who else's hair was like a lion's mane? My dad. That wild hair. And so I keep seeing the lion. It is so fascinating to me too. I learned so much about lions just watching about them this week. Now I come from South Africa, so I know a little bit about lions, but it was like if you lived there, it was like stay away.
Yeah.
You get eaten.
You had to go to find him.
Well, they have the way it works over there is they have sectioned off game reserves that are
Right.
fenced off massive areas of Africa for the wildlife. And so it's not like they're walking in the streets and stuff. It's not like that. But my Aunt Margaret was married to a farmer, sugarcane farmer, and their farm was on the border of the game reserve, and that fence was not kept up. And I remember them telling stories about, lion attacks. And one was one of their neighboring farms. Someone was trying to break in and was on the roof of the house attempting to break into the house to steal from them. And they never even knew, except for in the morning they found his remains because a lion had come over the fence. And while he was trying to break into their house, the lion grabbed him and ate him. And so, I remember going through the game reserve. In 1998 was the last time I was in South Africa, and Dad got a van and drove us through the Kruger National Park, and I was able to get a picture of a lion on that trip.
Every family did.
Yes, and I was able to get a picture of a lion on that trip. We had stopped going over a bridge, and we were actually leaving, and the sun was setting, and I looked up, and there was this lion all on his own. And he was sitting under, I think it was like a Joshua tree. It was beautiful. And you could almost not see his coloring because he was silhouetted by the sunset.
Oh,
and I got a picture. I don't have the picture anymore, but I had one of those little disposable cameras. This was 1998, pre-smartphones. And so I had a little disposable camera, and I took a picture of him. And I was emotional then because I had never, it's one thing to see a lion in the zoo. When you see a lion,
it's just not the same seeing him in zoo.
Well, tell everybody about what you were saying about what happened to you when you heard the lion roar, because we need to talk about the frequency and the sound.
Okay, so when Danae was talking about this today, I was like, oh my gosh. I go, this reminds me of the time where I went, I was over in South Africa and visiting a friend who lives on a game reserve. So I was there with Teresa Cook, Graham Cook's wife, and she and I were doing a little thing up there. And so at the very end, I always scheduled in, a safari. It's on my top 10 most favorite things I do on my lifetime list because it's euphoric. That's the one word I know. Like when you see some of these animals, it's like a spiritual experience. But we went out because she lived on a game reserve, and people that went to their church, that's what they did. They took people out. So we had a private guide who took us out. And so I have some pictures. We pulled up, and they were laying down. A pair of lions were laying down next to our truck, and you could see them. It was amazing. It was wonderful, but I wanted to hear a lion roar. It's something in me. I just wanted to hear a lion roar in the wild. And so we went all day. We even passed the lions walking down the road later in the day. They were, the pair of them, you like talking about silhouetted, you just see them walking down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so it was, the sun was getting ready to set, so we had to go. So we went to the first gate, and they opened it, and we closed it, and I started having not panic, but just going, oh, Jesus, I just want to hear the lion roar. Please, before I go, please, dear Lord, please, Jesus, just bless me with hearing it one time in my lifetime. I just want to hear the lion roar. We were driving out. We drove out to the last gate, and, the truck was open already, but we got out, and we're standing there while they were opening the thing, and all of a sudden, I hear, it must have been 2 miles away. That's what they told me, 2 or 3 miles away, and I hear this roar. And it just comes barreling through the atmosphere. And I don't know how to describe it in any way except sound waves. It was like the sound of the roar hit a sound wave and came to me. And I'm standing there, and it's like it went through me. It went into me. I felt the vibration, and I burst into tears like Danae. I burst into tears. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I said, please, Lord, one more time. Let me hear it one more time. And they started calling back and forth to each other as the sun was going down. Everything was silhouetted. It was like an African movie moment, I remember hearing that roar. You feel it go into you. I don't know how else to describe it. You feel it go, it's like on a sound wave that goes into you. And I was telling Danae earlier, we were saying, the frequencies, because let me see if I can find the scripture real quick for you. Hang on. It talks about Amos, and let me get it. Let me see here. Amos 3:7. Surely the Lord does nothing unless he reveals his secret to his servants, the prophets. A lion has roared. Who will not fear? The Lord God has spoken. who can but prophesy. And so I believe this, when it talks about the sound of the prophetic voice being like a lion roaring, it has a frequency that goes with it. And the same way that roar of that lion went into me, when we prophesy, it's like it's got a frequency. It's got that roar like a lion that goes into where you're sending it to. And I think there's more to this than what meets the eye that I would love to dig up myself, but I think there's something so connected. And Danae, you were telling me earlier on some of those documentaries, it talked about forest lions, it talked about water lions. I saw it in the scripture. After we hung up, I was doing a little research and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, because it kept talking about forest lions. It talked about greater older lions and then young lions and the difference between them. There's something so powerful to your whole lion revelation, Danae, that I say stay with it because God's going to reveal more.
Well, you know what people are saying in the chat right now, which I had thought of, but I had forgotten until I read in the chat. The Pope, he just called himself Leo.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I forgot all about that.
And you know what? There's this thing about South Africans. My dad was South African. I'm South African. I was born in Durban. You spent many years in South Africa ministering and laboring there. Elon Musk is South African. And is someone else who was arrested during COVID for refusing to close his church is Rodney Howard-Browne.
Yes.
Who you know.
I know Rodney.
And so did my dad. And you have a funny story. You remember?
Oh, yeah. I will never forget it. You really want to
tell it quickly? Can you do it? Can you tell it? Or you feel okay telling it?
Because Kim's told it publicly, so I'm assuming I can. To the last days, we still would burst out laughing when we thought about this. So we had the Combi. It had Judah plows on the side of it. We had a trailer. We'd hitch that thing up, put the music equipment in, and go do meetings. And Jane and I'd sit in the back with you kids, toddlers. And so we went to the township that we went to? Butterworth. I think it was Butterworth. And Rodney had just gotten out of Raymond Bible College, and he went back to his hometown, which was in Butterworth, and he wanted to start a church. He wanted to pastor a church. So he called Kim and asked if we could come out and do the music, and do some meetings for him. So Kim said, yeah, sure, we'll come, So we packed everything up. We put the petrol in the Combi, and back in those days, it was sanctioned, so you better make sure you had enough petrol, they called it gas, to get from point A to point B, and there weren't anything open after 6 or 7. So we drove out there, and the first night, he takes us to where it's going to be, and it's at a movie theater, which you can rent these movie theaters, and we walked in, and it was like 30 minutes away from the meeting, and nobody's there, and then 20 minutes, nobody's there. And I look at Stuart, Stuart was there. And I was like, where is everybody? And Rodney's like, oh, they'll be here. And so Kim and Danny, my husband, and Van were up on the stage, getting set up for their music. And we're like 10 minutes or 15 minutes away. And I'm like, give me your keys, Stuart, give me your keys. So he tossed me his keys, and his wife at the time, Lorraine, she goes, hey, what are you doing, Dina? I go, we're going to go get some people for our meeting. So I drove down the main street and where all these prostitutes were, and I jumped out of the car. You don't do this as a white woman in South Africa, but nobody told me. I just was like, let's go get them, Go to the highways and the byways, compel them to come in. And so we go, and they came. We tell them, oh, there's this fantastic meeting. There's going to be music. You got to come. So then we come back, and it's real quiet behind the stage, but what happens is Kim's peeking out, and there's nobody there, and he closes the curtains, and he looks over at Danny, and he says, Dan, nobody's here. And Danny goes, are you kidding? He goes, no, nobody's here. And so they start laughing. They get the giggles. And then they start laughing really hard. And Kim's sliding down the curtain, just laughing, and they can't get control. They're laughing uncontrollably. You could see the curtain shaking because Kim was hanging on to it laughing so hard. And about that, and then, years later, you realize, could that have been the prophetic seed that was being planted, Rodney persevered. I mean, we thought some people came. It wasn't what we thought. I remember. I won't tell on them, but after you do a meeting, you would get the envelope. Well, we would pull away, and We're living by faith, and we've got kids, and we got to get gas, and we got to get back to Durban. We got to do a meeting the next morning. And Kim put the envelope up like that. It goes, how much does everybody think the Lord gave us? And I don't know that I should tell, but it was not enough to even get.
Not enough to get home.
And we pulled up into a petrol station. I remember that, we got some Kentucky chicken for all the kids because it was going to be a long drive. And we laid hands on the van and we prayed multiplication. And we drove all the way back. You needed to get it filled up at least once. We drove all the way back to Durban on that one tank. It was impossible. And then Kim comes and picks us up the next morning, still hasn't gotten any gas, takes us to the meeting. We do the early morning service at the church, Durban Christian Center. And then after that, he dropped us off and he goes and gets gas. But it's those stories that make up the fiber of your faith and your history.
Now, I've told that story, and I think it was to Clay Clark and some other people over the years, and especially about praying over your gas tank because you don't have enough money. And man, we've had a little taste of that in the United States of America, especially under the Bidenomics. It was a bit of a struggle, and so I think of that story often because I was there apparently, but I don't remember it.
Oh, you guys were so small. Yeah.
Yeah, but my parents often told that story in the Judah Shall Plow van.
Yes.
So funny. And what's interesting too is that I'm not a Catholic, and so whoever the Pope is, but I think the symbolism is what we're kind of looking at here. Is that theme of the lion keeps coming up, and even that the Pope is Leo, and then we noticed the South African thing, and then of course just this past week we've seen Trump bring South African farmers, Afrikaans farmers, as refugees, and of course the reaction
unbelievable
globally has been shocking because apparently white people are not allowed to be refugees and they must just stay there and die, which just doesn't make sense to me.
I know that posted. This before he did this. This whole thing that Trump is saying about farmers being persecuted is lies. It's just lies. Sorry, it's not. I've talked to people who were farmers who've been attacked on their farms. I was attacked on the side of the freeway. But the farmers were attacked in their homes, and some have died. So it's not
tortured.
Yeah.
Do you know who's? You were just talking about Stuart. His wife, Ingrid, her twin brother was a farmer who was murdered.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I knew he was murdered, but I didn't know how.
He was a farmer. He was also murdered. So it's in my own family. My dad's great-grandmother was a sheep farmer outside of Uitenhage, which is near Port Elizabeth. And we, I talked to my cousins and I talked to my family, and that is a real thing. That is not a lie. You can listen to Ramaphosa giving speeches and the other guy, I've forgotten his name now, and it's kill the white man, kill the Boer. The Boer is the farmer. It's Afrikaans farmers are known as the Boers, Boer is how you spell that. And so I find it quite interesting that this is coming together because the lion is an primarily African animal. And when I was studying about the lions, one that they thought was extinct is called the Barbary, or the Atlas lion, which is from the very, very top of Africa. And those lions were used in the Colosseum in Rome. They are magnificent creatures. The Moroccan royal family had some in their collection, which is interesting. But they've been trying to breed these because they thought they were completely extinct, and they're apparently not. There are some in captivity, and that lion is akin to what I saw.
That's a
vision, which is why I'm saying. And these lions living in mountains are. It's a colder climate, so they have a bigger mane. They are larger. That the mane comes all the way down on the chest, behind the elbows, of the legs. The face is a little different. The cheekbones move up more. They're almost like chubby cheeked, and the eyes are slanted more and very light colored. They're a magnificent creature. And so, you know, and another thing is I was watching these lions and the way they function. And it is so interesting, the similarities between human beings and lion tribe. I keep saying tribes, prides, and the way they work. And, you know, I learned about a pride of lions in, I believe it's Tanzania, and there's a game reserve there. And like you were talking earlier about the different areas, there were the forest lions. It's a particular forest. The glade lions, there's an area called the glade where there's a lot of water, so a lot of animals come there to drink, and it's prime for the lions to hunt, to eat. And there's a pride of lions there in that game reserve that don't claim any physical territory. This pride of lion has taken claim of a herd of buffalo. And so wherever that herd of buffalo goes, they follow it. They feed off of, they take their pick and they feed off of these buffalo. And then whatever territory they're in, they have to fight the lions whose territory they've moved into, to continue to lay claim on their herd, which is so unusual. It's all lionesses too. It's all female lions. I think now they do have a male or a few males now, but they didn't for a long time. And it was just so fascinating to me. They're quite a vicious. They're called the Nja, and they have within their pride they have there's a defect, and one of the leaders, one of the lionesses, one of the eyes is bigger than the other, and a different color. So she has one normal eye, and then she has this giant eye, which makes her look very intimidating. And the glade lions, whose territory that is, moved away when these other two, the forest lions and the Nja, were coming through. And those glade lions, whose territory it is, moved away. And the forest lions wanted to hunt the buffalo who belonged to the Nja. And the Nja were terribly cruel. I was shocked. They took the lioness from the forest lion's pride, and instead they didn't kill her. They tortured her until the leader of the forest pride, which was also a lioness, they didn't have any males, came and bowed down before the Nja, and they let go of the lion and ran away. I've never seen anything like that. You know, I'm from South Africa, so I do know a little bit about lions. We learned about it growing up and how they hunt and how they, and lions will form alliances, which is so interesting as well. You'll have different prides. This is in a different part of Africa now. There were the brothers, and then there was another one. But these lions will have their prides, and sometimes they'll form an alliance to make a giant pride. And then they have control over massive amounts of territory together. And the glade lions also have an agreement with the baboons there, where they won't eat those baboons that live in the glade, because whenever any other lions from other prides come in and hunt in their territory, the baboons start shouting and screaming and alert the glade lions that there's another lion hunting in their territory. And so the glade lions do not eat the baboons there. So I was saying to my mother last night, they can't speak. How are they creating these alliances and making these agreements and understanding these things? And it is it's just fascinating to me, the whole thing. And it's so many reflections of human societies and how they function and territories. And then I'm seeing my dad prophesy about the lion nations, the lion countries, and what God is about to do with them. Particularly the UK. And so, Lou, now you play the rest of this video here. Now let's watch this, and then I'll get your reaction, Deanie.
This is a year of swiftness, which means God is there's going to be no delays. Some of you have found a delay after delay. Maybe it's your fault. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the enemy that's done it. However, you have absolutely no excuse, because the two spirits, giant spirits that have been brought down, and he started in 2012 with a vision that I have, how the eggs of the python will be destroyed within the first 80 to 100 days starting in January. And that is the spirit of Pythos, or python, which speaks of strangulation and suffocation. I explained that to you on New Year's Eve. And I've taught that to you before, how a python suffocates its victim. And the only way that it can do it is by detecting its prey by the dust and the chemicals and draws closer. In other words, the more flesh, the more crap that you speak, the more flesh that you are, he draws closer to you. That spirit is being dealt a severe blow of the United States of America. I don't care what the economists say. I don't care what prophets of doom are saying. I'm not just positive all this time. But I know one thing for sure. God is not finished with this nation yet. God is not through with this nation. And I know that he has planned one of the greatest shakings of the Holy Spirit. Why? Because he told me that there would be the second spirit that would go is the spirit of impenitence. You know what penitence means? To be remorseful. But there's been impenitence. You know what that means? The people are not remorseful. They're obstinate, they're persuaded, they're callous, shameless, unrepentant. God spoke about that on New Year's Eve. And today, I want to say it again and again, that spirit is being dealt a severe blow in this nation and many nations all over the world. I was in the United Kingdom. I prayed hours every day. I was there in London. I was outside of London, the outskirts of London, Scotland. And I stood there because God said, I want the feet of my prophet in this nation because he's got something huge for the United Kingdom. Do you realize that God spoke to me there and said, do you realize I raised up these lion nations that they would spread the gospel throughout the earth? And I want you to know something, that I believe, if you really believe that America has no chance because of the impenitence, in other words, it has that remorseful obstinance, they're unpersuaded, you stay here for, don't you run away. I'm just giving them a little thought quickly. I'm saying to you to be strong, and if God can conquer the mountain for you, then he can conquer the mountain in America and the United Kingdom. Because those two forces, the spirit that God has placed upon the United Kingdom and the spirit that the Lord has placed upon the United States of America, cannot be removed because of the shamelessness and the unrepentant hearts of the lost. It's the hearts of the believer that God listens to. It's the faith of the believer that God listens to. And that is the thing that persuades him. Why do you think there are so many prophets of doom and those that would steal your future? Is so that you'd stop praying and there'd be no hope left. And when there's no hope left from the believer, there's no hope left for the nation. If there's no faith left in the believer, there's no more faith in the nation. I simply believe that God's going to revive us to the point that we're going to say no more holding back. No more delay. God's not going to, there's going to be no more delay. There's going to be a swift move of the Spirit.
Well, Dina, you were just talking about that. And there you just said it.
And is my mic off? Is my mic on? Yes. Okay, so I'm laughing because thank you, Lou. I was so enthralled in what he was saying. I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah. There's so much to think about. Okay, so first of all, with you, Danae, I want to say this before I forget it. Your father had a forerunning spirit. He was a forerunner. You know, he would go through things, experience it before the body, and then hatch that out and then prophesy it. You know, and you had this dream a year ago, and
last year, maybe not quite a year.
So I believe God put that in your heart, forerunning what's to come, and that's why He's resurrecting that, stirring that up, because He's starting to release revelation on it. It's in your spirit, and I think it's something that's coming for the body, you know. And I think it's bigger than just the studying of documentaries, which that's good because you'll get revelation off those. But I think there's something so much strategic about where we're at and what's going on, and just the frequency and the sound of that prophetic voice of what is being said. And I want to say, you know, that what I'm saying to you, some people are they're getting excited in their spirit right now because they've had the same experience, not necessarily about lions, but where they saw things and when before it was ever happening, and now they're starting to see things. And you're a forerunner. You might not be declared that from the front of the platform or anything like that. You don't need that, because to be a forerunner is to be an intercessor, and to have that prophetic spirit in your life. And you are recognizing and acknowledged here, and a lot of things that is said here confirms what you are experiencing in your own home. And that I just want to encourage you and just love on you for a few minutes to say, don't ever back off from that, because that's how God made you. And and you be encouraged if you've had some things that just through us talking has reminded you of some of the forerunning things that you've seen that you've not seen yet, but you're getting ready to. Begin to prepare yourself for what he's getting ready to release. He'll make it known to you. He'll bring revelation on it. Just Father, I bless that in people's hearts where they've been carrying some things for a long time, but Father, we're in a season where those things are getting, the soil is hot, and those seeds that you put in them way back, Lord God, are getting ready to break open. And I just pray that they be instant in season and out, and they be ready for what's about to come, just as Donnay is making herself ready with researching everything she can on Lions, Lord. You're going to make it known, as you already have just today, bringing some pieces of the puzzle together. I pray those pieces come down out of heaven for everybody and begin to snap together to form a picture, and that we have one another to bounce things off of, to make sure that, Father, we are tracking together for the kingdom of God. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen, Deanie. Amen. That was right on, just right on.
But
I can see the people in the comments as well. And
no,
you know what?
I mean, we're not blaspheming with frequencies. It's vibrations.
Right.
It's sound. It's the sound of the voice. I've never studied frequencies. I don't do that, but I'm talking the sound.
Why is it blasphemy and evil?
God
God made sound.
I know.
God created all of everything that is created. He spoke into being, and that's sound. And something my dad used to do, he had a sign that he put in front of his piano, the sound of King Clement. And he prophesied constantly about the sound. When my daughter was in my womb, and he prophesied over her, he said, "You have created a sound." Sound, us speaking about frequency, is not blasphemy. I disagree.
It's not
God made sound. God made music. God made that frequency. And if we want to look into it, I will not be dissuaded by people who want to say, oh, well, that's just a conspiracy for whatever reason. I disagree. God created everything by what? Sound. What did he do? He spoke into existence. So, no, disagree.
Sound of his voice. It's
but I disagree.
For is the sound of his voice, and that we're wired.
What's the name of my dad's book? The Sound of His Voice.
Yes, we've literally been wired to hear his voice. My sheep hear my voice, and the voice of no other will they follow. And as long as you're leaning into that, staying in the Word, he will. We're going to begin to hear that the sound of his voice more and more. It says the will of God is for us is that we know His will, we hear His voice, and that we know the will of God for our lives. So, and that we see Him. We know His will. We hear His voice, and we see Him. That's in the scriptures. There's many ways you see God. The pure in heart shall see God. Right now in this walk, and it's going to begin to increase more and more as the days go by, that we want to be in the right place at the right time to do the right things for God, and to be able to hear His voice with clarity and to speak that clarity.
Very important, because in this environment, it is very difficult to discern what is truth and what isn't.
Right.
Especially when you're given the freedom, like for instance on social media, we struggled so much with censorship, and to be given the freedom, for instance on X, with that freedom comes responsibility to discern, and only God can really guide us through that. And that's part of the prophetic and what that is about. For those of us who may not be in the office of the prophet like my dad was, but we're still a prophetic people. We are a prophetic army, the warriors of the new millennium is what God showed my dad in 1993. And we are those warriors. And God showed him that it would be unexpected people, not people who cut their hair right, wore the suit, and looked right, but their hearts were stinking. It's the warriors who had gone through the fire, and God forged them to make that beautiful golden the gold in the fire is what I'm thinking of. That Dad wrote that song. That there's gold in the fire, and it's you. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He was there with them in the fire. The fourth man in the fire, and through the going, because if you were to mine gold, for instance, it's just a lump, but when taking it through the heat, through the fire, forges it and forms it into something magnificent. And that is what God does with those wounded warriors that Dad, he spoke. I listened to him growing up again and again, prophesy about it, preach on it, and speak about it, is that those who have the scars of battle on them are the ones who are prepared for this moment that we are in. And those who have, sat around looking nice, not really wanting to take any risks or have any faith, are not prepared and don't know what's going on and are struggling to discern. And so this is why God gave us the prophetic, number one, but also my dad in this season. My dad was called to the United States of America from South Africa, interestingly enough. Lou has approached the bench.
Well, I got very excited when you went on to that sound thing, because like you said, God spoke the earth into existence. God created Adam from what? The earth. He took his word that he spoke into the earth, he formed it into a man, and he breathed life into it. So the voice, the sound, the breath created life. Then he took Eve from the rib, which was still from the sound.
Yes.
Right? And that's how, and then scientists have now found, when they went straight down into the smallest part of the molecular system in the human being,
Yes,
it's controlled by sound waves.
It's vibration.
It's vibrate. That's why we get affected by the music we hear. That's why we need to be careful what we listen to.
Very
We get infected. Worship affects us more. That's why we got to come into his presence with thanksgiving. The outer court, the inner court, and the Holy of Holies is all about praise.
Yes.
David praised. The Bible even talks about it. It says you got to speak into existence things that are not.
Yes.
We have to speak and use sound all that because it's part of our molecular system. It's part of who we are.
Actually, we all have a frequency, every single one
So
of
anyway,
us.
that was my little 2 cents. Goodbye.
Thank you, Lou.
We're all getting fired up because he was talking about music. That was part of Kim's gift.
Yeah, that's where the prophecies came from.
Studied that gift for over 40 years because I was fascinated with it.
I know.
A lot of times he'd send me out there after an intense evening on the next day to do workshops to help people process and unpack what he did, God did. But what Kim would do, the high praises of God, the cymbals, the drums hitting an atmosphere, you break something open. You literally open up the heavens. And then he would come up with a new song of a declaration that everybody could sing. And as he opened things up with his instruments and with the sound, then we would begin to declare and shift atmospheres. I don't know too many people that do that. I used to love to go to his gatherings because it's like he brought all of us into that encounter. And one of I was going to call you sometime last week or the week before and say, Nate, find some of his instrumentals. Because he would do worship, but then he'd just go into heaven. So he sometimes was taken into heaven. So and I would ask him afterwards when he could, when he could talk, what were you seeing? Because he played like soundtracks. His instrumentals were like soundtracks.
Yes.
Soundtracks to what he was seeing, and you could hear warfare. Then you could hear the clash. Then you could hear the peace. You could hear what he was seeing, and many times I would be caught up and have the vision, to see things, and it activated the gifts in me like nothing else ever in my life. I mean, his gift did. But I loved it because when he would go into sometimes 45 minutes, he played like a madman, like a madman.
And you could hear what eventually would come out in words and prophecy. It was like
stop and usually prophesy if he But
it was like planting a seed, and the Judah shall plow.
A lot of times he prophesied just through the music. The music. Is what
the song would be a prophecy.
And it was like, I remember on more than one occasion, I could count on one hand, but I would walk past after he got up and left and there would be blood on the piano.
Yes. Blood on the keys. He actually had, he had my husband, I don't know if they took a picture, if he drew it, but it had my husband, and I remember my husband trying to figure out how to put blood on the keyboard.
And I don't say that except
using Robitussin cough syrup. because my dad wanted that image because that had happened to him where he had played so much his fingers bled onto the piano, and I saw that time and again.
It was like going to a symphony, which you would pay big bucks to sit under, a movement like what he played, because he was trained classically from a baby, from a child. Like, wasn't he 3 or 4 and he was playing Bach?
Yes.
Yeah.
And not reading the music either. He played it by ear.
Prodigy. And so he took Bach and then his rock and roll days and his jazz days, and he combined all this infusion into his sound for God. And that God, infused
and he
for
gave it to God as an act of worship.
Yes. And so
he could have been a musician. I mean, my dad had so many opportunities that he did not take.
Right.
That would have made him very wealthy and well known and all that, and he did not. He gave his gift to God and used it to worship Him, and in that act of worship,
talk about it all day, because it was one of you do have some of his instrumentals where he just.
Yes, we're working on an album right now, actually.
Those to me rocked my world.
Yes, it's such a beautiful. So many people love the worship. And actually, this is something we haven't announced it, but this is something we've been working on. Is my sister Libby? She sings well as my daughter now too. So we want to. We're working. We're at the beginning stages, but we're working on doing exactly what you just said, getting some of those powerful live worship moments, and releasing it for people on an album. But then my sister Libby wants to also add a few songs of her own.
Oh, wow.
And so we're working on it. It's still in its infancy. We're getting there, but it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I think that's something that's been lacking for sure, because unless we play it in a video, we have our worship team and everything, but there was something very special there, and I think people need to hear that again. I mean, even Clay Clark, I remember him saying, do you have any more of your dad's music? Because he was playing it in his office all day while everybody was working. They were all listening to Kim Clement worship, which was so sweet.
I love the ones. He came up with the most brilliant. He was a brilliant songwriter.
Yes.
But there's something about when he would get caught up and just go into playing in the spirit. Just those instrumentals. I've never heard it before nor since. Nothing like it.
Again, that was all part of
and all rehearsed, just spontaneous.
And yes, so Dina, we're running out of time. Before we do that, so I know you are interested in maybe starting a new podcast.
Yes, I've been playing around with this and thought and thinking about doing this.
I think you should, and I think everybody here. There's tons of you in the chat. I'm seeing all of you watching. I can see the number of how many people are watching. I will let you all know as soon as Dina has started her podcast, because let me tell you something. My dad definitely recognized the gift in you, and he was having you come. Remember when he got sick, he had you coming in, and were doing conversations with him and ministering with him. And this is someone who is seasoned. This is not someone who just hopped up and decided to talk about this stuff. This is Dina is anointed. She understands the prophetic. She understands what God is doing in the moment. She is from an incredible family as well. Your sisters as well. I know God uses greatly. And so, wasn't it your sister that had my dad in contact with? Was it Mel Gibson?
Yeah, Holly worked on the Passion of the Christ. Yeah, and and I think she thought up she helped think up the name for his book. Call Me Crazy, but I hear from God.
Did she?
Yeah.
So, now was she the one that got him the prophecy, or was that someone else?
I don't remember, but
I need to find out.
Holly was,
because my dad prophesied over Mel Gibson, and he'd written it out. And I know someone gave it to him, and I have
to ask Holly. I don't know.
We have to ask her. So this family, our families have been together for as long as I've been alive, and I'm 45 years old now, so a very long time. And so as soon as Dina has her podcast up and going, we're going to let you know. You guys can go and watch her and listen to what she has to say. And I'm going to have you come back, Dina. Anytime something big happens, I'm going to be calling you back because I need you. And I know so many people were blessed today having you join me, and I'm so glad I had you.
I feel like we're all in the same room together. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been. It always is. Every weekend is a lot of fun here. We just go through these prophecies and look at the news, and if there's anything we could talk about. We could end up talking about the Njab lion pride and the
I like it though.
in I think it's Tanzania. No, it's not Botswana. It's Tanzania. But some very interesting stuff I've learned about lions this week. But I know that God put that in my heart for a reason, and so interesting that the Leo, and then looking up lion in the prophecy database and listening to what my dad was saying and how relevant it is to the moment. So I think that was definitely directed by God.
Did I already say this? Did I tell you a little bit ago when you said, and the sound of his voice, it thundered really loud outside?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you said the sound of his voice.
Where you are now?
Yeah, and it thundered here, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Well, there's another sign.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Time for Tammy says, "You two are a breath of fresh air." Please do this again soon. We will do this again soon. I'll have Dina. You need to just come on with me once in a while. We'll figure out a timeline on it. And I really believe you should be doing this podcast. People will be really blessed. There is a famine in the land. A lot of there's a lot of trafficking around in the prophetic, but not that deeper understanding that you have.
So many people are doing this. Does everybody need one more podcast? But
I think that they do. And God's not done with you yet, Dina.
Oh no.
Still here and kicking, and just a wealth of knowledge and understanding, and you're also my friend and my mom's friend, and we've had so many good times together. And so I am just honored. I'm honored that you joined me today. Thank you for joining me.
Come on with you.
Yes, anytime. You must. We'll figure it out. You're definitely going to have to be coming back more often, because it really helped me today as well. And when we come together, God starts to just bring out the revelation, and it's just beautiful. And yes. And so you don't have a website or anything yet?
I do, DinaMcClure.com. I'm on Facebook. I have.
Lou, can you put that on the screen?
I have Dina McClure, and then I have Dina McClure Ministries. I also have The Bigger Picture, which is going to be probably what the name of my podcast is. I used to do a TV show, so I have some clips on there from back when. I have Instagram. We got them all.
Okay, so Lou, you make sure that if you can't do it on the screen right now, at least put it in the description, just so people can search her and find her and follow her. That's going to be very important. Make sure you're on X, Deanie.
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. What is your handle? Is it at Dina? It'll be at.
I'll find out and send it to you.
Well, you can come back on, and then by then we can because Dina's just kind of stepping out right now, and she feels God calling her to do this, and I agree, and that's why I asked her to come today, and so. Just checking the comments. I know everybody has really enjoyed this.
Oh, good.
It's always good having someone who knew my dad.
Yes.
Not just met him a couple of times, but you knew him. And so you understand and you remember things I don't remember, and you were there for things that I wasn't there for. And so I love when that happens, and I can bring someone in that can,
It's nice remembering together. I don't want to ever forget him. And how can you? It's Kim Clement. We never.
Possible. And he had that lion mane hair, and I keep thinking about that too.
I keep my eyes open for lions.
Definitely. So everybody pray about the lions too. If anybody has anything to share with me on lions, you can email me at codebreakers@houseofdestiny.org. And also anybody who is given a donation today, or maybe you want to support us. Listen, we wouldn't be able to do this without you. We would have been gone a long time ago. There's my email address, codebreakers@houseofdestiny.org. You can email me about lions or prophecy or sound frequency or whatever else you want, and I'll get those emails. And also prayer. If anybody needs prayer, you feel free to email me there, or you can email hope@houseofdestiny.org. I've been getting prayer requests coming in. It's difficult for us to keep up with answering all of them because we're such a small operation, but we do actually pray for you guys. And we are, my sister Jacqueline and Lou and Pastor Faw, we're all there getting your emails. We are praying for you. We appreciate you. And again, just before I forget, if you are giving a donation of any amount today, we have the Daily Light. This is a 31-day devotional. And it's all stuff my dad wrote, And we'd love for you to have it. If you give 50 cents, we will send this to you. Just make sure you use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or go to the website. If you don't like QR codes, you can go straight to kimclement.com and make sure you click the banner just to indicate to us that you, when you give your offering, that you want one of these. The other one is for $25 or more. This is our new release, so that's why. We want to send you this as well. So you could probably get both. Just make sure that you click the banner. And these are things written by my dad. And let me tell you, as anointed as he was to prophesy and worship and play the piano, oh my goodness, when he wrote, it was just beautiful. And so you will be blessed by this. It gives you a deeper understanding of who he was and what he did and why he did it, and how prophecy works and how it will work for you in your life, and how you, as a gift of the Spirit, it is a gift of the Holy Spirit, the gift of prophecies. You don't have to be up there prophesying like my dad, but it's a relationship with God where you are hearing his voice, that you're tuned into his voice, that you recognize it, and it will guide you whether or not you have me. You have God, and he will guide you through these difficult times. And prophecy is like little lights along and we've been on a very dark path these past years, my friends, but those prophecies have been like little lights guiding our way, and they continue to do so. And so as long as that's going on, I will be here every week. Don't miss all the other stuff we have going on at the House of Destiny Network this week. We have got so much. We've got Prophetic Rewind, thanks to our Prophecy Vault partners, those of you who have partnered with us. I appreciate you so much. Because of you, we have been able to digitize a lot of footage we were not able to before. And so tomorrow we will have a new, I think we're still in 1996. We might have gone over to 1997 now. We're just going in date order. And it is 19. I thought it was. It's 1997 now. We're in 1997. So it's the year after he prophesied 9/11. And wow, those meetings are powerful. And I was in a lot of them, but now that it's been so many years and I haven't seen them, to go back and watch how prophetic I mean, you could just preach that right now and it would be relevant and very, very helpful for us in the season. So that's how prophetic my dad was. And that'll be up tomorrow, kim.tv. Look for Prophetic Rewind. If you, we have an app too. You can download the House of Destiny app and watch it right on there, or on YouTube, or on Rumble, or on X. We are everywhere, you guys. And we're making sure that whoever needs to hear these prophecies hears them. And you can believe them, you cannot believe them, you can wait for them to be fulfilled. I have found that, and I've learned a lot about prophecy, even though I thought I knew with all the years with my dad. It's different now without him. And I've learned a lot. I have learned a lot about prophecy and not rushing. And something I've noticed is a lot of people have been in a rush since Trump was president. Well, we want these arrests and we want this to happen. Just hold on. Because you know what we saw from my dad? It is happening swiftly. And just have a little patience and faith, faith, faith. If we have faith, we believe, we know what was prophesied. We know that's coming. We know what season we're in. But I think we're in a season right now where God wants to bless us and, most importantly, equip us to spread the gospel before he returns. That is what this is all about. We got to get that gospel to as many. We're saving Muslims. We're going to get those Muslims saved. And the ones we can't reach, God's going to them himself. And that's what my dad prophesied, the Damascus Road conversions, Christ appearing to these people who know nothing about him, and it's changing their lives. Atheists turning to Christ. We're seeing it happen across the board. And so God is doing something new. He is doing something amazing, and you do not want to miss out on it. And so anyway, I just wanted to encourage everybody right now. I know it's been a little bit difficult. What was Trump doing in the Middle East? He's doing something different, doing something new, and we know God is using him. And so just hold your horses, pray for him, pray for Israel. He has not turned his back on Israel. Everything he did in the Middle East over there was to ultimately help them. And so we're going to keep praying that it works out. And I think that's everything. I think I've covered everything. Oh, Wednesday. Don't miss Wednesday. Christy and I will be doing analysis as usual. I have no idea what we're doing because, that's going up same day. We pre-recorded, but it goes up the same day. And so whatever happens between now and then, I'll be back on Wednesday for analysis with Christy Desfontaine. And then every other Thursday, we have Charlie doing Perspectives of the Prophetic. That is powerful. You don't want to miss that. And then Israel Update on Fridays. Foz doing church on Saturdays. We are busy here at the House of Destiny Network. Do not miss a thing. And again, thank you so much for your support. And those of you who have stood with us over the many years. It's almost been September will be 10 years since my dad last prophesied, and we have been through a lot, but we have done this together. And so all of you that join me every week and support our ministry and are with us and have stuck around, we are in this together. We're just this band, this remnant of people, this band of wounded warriors that God will use and is using greatly. And so I'm just honored and humbled to be here with you and to be able to do this and come to you every week. And so thank you for joining me. And we went a long time today, but it was worth it. And keep your eye on Dina McClure. Dina, so anointed. And I'll have her come back again and join us as things happen. I'll have Dina come back and join us as I do with Trey Smith and others. Dina's going to be one of those people now too. And so thank you again, everybody, for joining me today. And I'll see you next week.
What's new at the House of Destiny Network?
You are his feet. You are his hands. You are his eyes. You are his mouth. You are the body of Christ. Come on. This is nothing new. That's what he said. He said, you don't have to worry about it at all. I'm going to go. I'm going to send you. You come back after you subjected them. They're lined up, ready for punishment. I give you power. I give you authority to trample on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Is somebody excited about that?
Does it really matter when he was born? What's most important is that he was born. That's what's most important. Plus, he was born and he lived and he died.
Now that some time has passed and we can look back at these prophecies and he sees the connection with Russia and Pakistan, mustard-colored forest, he sees the letters A and Q. These are the things we need to be looking for as a prophetic people. Now, knowing what he shared and what can God share with us as we navigate through this, because this is no small thing here.
We are hearing noises, sounds, and voices that we never heard before concerning the relationship between the Republican government and Israel. It was always, in a much more diplomatic way, but now we're hearing it out loud. And this is a little bit frightening here in Israel.
God will command us. And then he says, and I promise you, this is what I'm going to do, but you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to obey me. And then comes the risk of stepping out into it, and then comes the breakthrough and the blessing.
Hello, friends. I'm Donna Clement Petrushka, and I am honored to invite you to something truly extraordinary, the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Now you can gain unprecedented access to my father's entire digitized video archive. Every prophetic moment, every powerful teaching, every anointed worship session is now available to you in the Prophecy Vault. We've also enhanced the prophecy database, meticulously updating it with new video content and profound insights. Plus, I'm excited to share that my dad's special School of the Prophets teachings are included, offering you deep, transformative lessons on hearing God's voice and understanding his revelations. As part of your membership, you'll also gain access to my prophecy blog, where I break down and analyze my father's prophecies, connecting them to current events. This blog will provide you with exclusive insights and a deeper understanding of how God's word is unfolding right now. And we're offering something truly special: exclusive analysis sessions available only to members of the Prophecy Vault. These sessions will go beyond the surface, providing in-depth exploration of specific prophecies and their implications for today and the future. Your partnership is crucial. Not only will you gain access to these incredible resources, but you'll also help us continue the vital work of preserving, digitizing, and adding new Kim Clement material to the archives. So, I'm inviting you to step into the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Let's embark on this journey of revelation together, and I can't wait to see you inside.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory.
We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you. And then by phone call. And then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.